Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go! All right, welcome to another installment of Ballsy Uncut. I do appreciate you checking it out. Tell all your friends. That's the best form of promotion, word of mouth. This is a great form of promotion, too. We got the Our Balls Are Bigger postgame show coming up after the first regular season game, Riders and the Ottawa Redblacks. I'll be joined by Ky Hebert, and from time to time, provincial high school football coach and former Regina Ram Ryan Hall will join me as well. But Ky Hebert is going to join us to tee up our second season of the Our Balls Are Bigger postgame show and talk about the trials and tribulations of training camp and what players are going through as they head into the final week of the preseason. Action today. Riders and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Bombers won a field goal fest in Winnipeg in the first game back last Saturday. Here's a few rookies I think worth watching today in the game at Mosaic Stadium. Riders trying to, continue to develop that receiving core. They want to start, I think, 3 probably Canadians in the receiving core. So a chance for Deshaun Mims in his second training camp, the son of former Rider and Bomber great Robert Mims, to crack the roster. Probably his last chance to crack the Riders roster because he was in training camp last year. The former Rams receiver was targeted a few times in the last game in Winnipeg. So he's a guy worth watching. And so is Daniel Weeb, who has been drawing comparisons to a Canadian version of Weston Dressler out of the U of S, Rosetown kid. So those are receivers to watch. And then, of course, the Riders already have been hit hard on their offensive line with injuries. So Daniel Johnson, the offensive lineman out of Purdue, who is on the practice roster last year. And I think Corey Mace said at one point, the most improved player in training camp this year for the Riders. So we'll watch him. I think he played, I'll say, right tackle in the game last week that I watched in Winnipeg. And he's supposed to get some snaps maybe there, but at left guard too, so they're trying him out. On the Winnipeg side, Cam Allen, another Purdue Boilermaker, had an interception and a pass knocked down on a deep ball by Jake Mayer down the middle, I believe, to Tommy Neal in that game last week. He's bothered by a bit of a knee injury, but he's going to play in the game today. So Cam Allen will draw in and try to crack the Blue Bombers roster. I think he's a good bet that he's going to make it. He's third on the depth chart. And, you got to look for that next guy. Like I said, much to the chagrin of Trevor Harris in the offseason, I said the Riders need to look for the next guy behind Trevor Harris. They've got to start looking, do the Bombers, for the next guy behind Zach Collaros. Strevler's a solid player, but he's not going to be the next guy. Maybe it's Terry Wilson, or maybe it's this Chase, I don't know how to pronounce it, Chase Artopoius from the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. Haven't talked to my son enough to get the pronunciations yet, but he's a guy worth watching in the game. He wears number 16, so we'll see what he could do in the ball game. Just a few names to watch today. Mostly rookie-laden lineups as those guys get their final chances to impress the coaches before the cut-down day, which has to be done Saturday by 10 p.m. locally, but they'll be done well before that. Coaches already have about a 90% image of what their team's going to look like, and now just a couple of guys with a chance to pop to maybe make the roster, either active or PR. The Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers will meet in the Stanley Cup Final for the second time in a row. It's the first time we've had, let's see here. We've had four back-to-back matchups in the Stanley Cup in the history of the NHL. So 4 repeat matchups, and this would be one of them. The last Canadian team to be in a repeat matchup was the Edmonton Oilers in 83-84 versus the New York Islanders. And the Edmonton Oilers, the last Canadian team to go to Stanley Cups in back-to-back years, 87-88. Oilers, of course, lost in Game 7 last year to Florida. Panthers are playing great hockey, but so are the Edmonton Oilers. This seems kind of basic, but it could come down to the goaltending. Can Stuart Skinner continue to impress as he has since being reinserted back into the Oilers lineup after not starting the series very well against the Kings? Calvin Pickard comes in, carries them right through Vegas, And then he gets hurt, and Skinner comes in, and Stuart Skinner has been outstanding for the Oilers for the second straight spring, outplaying Jake Ottinger, who was pulled yesterday. The Oilers are not relying so much on McDavid and Draisaitl, although McDavid did score the big 4-2 goal yesterday on a breakaway. It hurts Zach Hyman won't be there, but they do get Matthias Ekholm back, and he got an assist, I think 2 assists in his first game back. The Oilers have depth scoring. I want to say they have, is it 10 players who have scored at least 3 goals? And how about Corey Perry, or we should call him Scory Perry, at 40 years old? He has, I think he's 4th in goal scoring in the playoffs. 4th for a 40-year-old. Outstanding. For what it's worth, I've got the Oilers. I said 5, but okay, 6. The Oilers win this one in 6. And I think they will win it, even if it goes 7, because they've got home ice advantage this year. I think this is the year McDavid and Draisaitl get their Stanley Cup. Either way, it's going to be an epic final, I believe. I wanted to check one more thing out here, folks. I saw an interesting stat. Everything kind of ties in here. Jack Michael's a friend of the show who's been on before. He is the voice of the Edmonton Oilers. Let's just see here. I'm going to see what he said. I saw this a couple seconds ago. Here it is. Chris Knobloch of Imperial, Saskatchewan becomes the first coach since 1970 to bring a team to the Stanley Cup final in each of his first 2 seasons. You know who the other coach was? Scotty Bowman. Bowman from 68 to 70 with St. Louis, whose son Stan, of course, is Knobloch's new GM. Coming up on the show, we're going to talk some WCBL baseball with the manager or coach and the architect of the Regina Red Sox. That would be Rye Pothakos. He joins us again as they kicked off their season against Swift Current yesterday. This interview was done just before going into that game. They won yesterday 11-1 over the Swift Current 57s. Should be a competitive year once again, despite that score in the WCBL. Actually, 13-10. It was a Medicine Hat over Moose Jaw, and Weyburn beats the Saskatoon Berries 9-0. So I say competitive, and two scores that I read there, blowouts. But anyway, Rye Pothakos joins us, and the aforementioned Angry Bird, former NFLer and CFLer, Ky Hebert, my co-host on the Our Balls Are Bigger postgame show, talk a little CFL football. This is Ballsy Uncut. The Angry Bird's back. How you doing, bud?
I have missed it, man. I miss you, bud.
Yeah.
Glad we get to talk some ball together.
Missed you too. Yeah, I'm happy to be talking to you too, man. Our show's coming up again for another season after the Riders game, June 5th, the Thursday night contest. So this is probably the time of year you don't miss. You don't miss not going to training camp, or do you miss it?
Man, I do. There's a certain craziness about you that you have to get excited about pain. Like it becomes unfamiliar, and then when you get familiarized with it again, it's almost exciting. So you take that time and you're training, you're doing everything that you can to get your body together. You're trying to get mentally ready for, okay, I'm going to go here. I'm not going to see family for weeks. I'm not going to see, I'm not going to eat certain things for weeks. No kissing the girlfriend. Like it's focused. You're locked in. So you got to be mentally prepared for that part of it. But no matter how hard you train, there is nothing that can train to prepare you for the aches and pains of your first 3 days of training camp.
Yeah.
You get to the point where you almost can't walk. And those are the guys who are in the best shape of their lives. Get to where they can't walk, and you feel that soreness. You're like, oh, man, it's good to be back.
Yeah. So, and you know, it's funny you say that, because my son got interviewed by 7 of the 9 teams, and a couple of the teams asked him what his favorite thing about football was, including Jason Moss. And he said, my favorite thing about football is being sore. He said, I love the pain. That means I've put a hard day's work in. It's a good kind of pain, especially when you win. But you got to be a different kind of nut to play this game, don't you?
You got to be. And, you find out who who's the real from the fake at training camp. You know, it's easy to show up for autograph signing. It's easy to do training and show muscles and take pictures for Instagram. Like that stuff's easy. You can push yourself to a certain limit and say, okay, I had enough for today. Let's take a picture. Look at my muscles. I look good. But what it takes to actually excel at the next level is being one of those people who said, okay, this is all my body can take.
Hmm.
This is where it starts. Now I work harder.
So, Kyrie's, what's the key to getting through a training camp? Like, what was it? Take me back to your first one. What was that like? Whether it was in the NFL or your first one up here in Canada,
Yeah,
what was that like?
my very first one was Minnesota, and it was a mini camp. And man, when I tell you the level of naive I was, I thought when they said it was mini camp, it was going to be a small thing. And first day, Randy Moss is out there, and I'm like, "What's he doing here?" Like this supposed to be the new guys. Like, why is Randy Moss and Dante Culpepper here? And we had one-on-ones right out the gate, and I got lined up on Randy Moss, and he ran a dig route in the back of the end zone, and I shut him down.
Wow.
And the entire team went crazy. They was like, "We have somebody for you now, Moss. Another tall DB that can match up with you." And
Mm.
man, that did wonders for my confidence. And I don't know if he ever missed another ball the rest of training camp. He murdered us. He took turns putting beans on every DB. I never stopped him again.
Yeah.
One
So,
on one, I never stopped him again.
so what's it like? Like, you've been at the very high, whether it's in the NFL or the CFL making a team, but you've been low too, where you get cut. Like,
Yeah.
how do you deal? There's going to be a lot of guys here after this week on Saturday. They're going to get cut. Their dreams are going to be they're going to end for some of them, and some of them they're going to be paused. How do you keep the
Yeah.
mojo going? How do you go to that next town, that next camp, keep it
Man,
going?
you know what? I've been cut. I don't think I've ever been cut. I never been cut in the CFL.
No.
I never been cut in a training camp. Coming out of
Yeah.
a training camp. If I showed up, I showed out and made the team. I may have left teams in the offseason or at the
Yeah.
very end of it all, I
Yeah.
decided to move on, not try to pursue going on to another team.
Yeah.
But in the NFL, got cut a couple times. And in Minnesota, it was for being a knucklehead. It had
Okay.
nothing to do with football. Second day of practice, I've earned my way into the starting lineup. I was taking reps with the ones as coming in as an undrafted free agent with the person who was drafted at my position taking the back seat to me. So got cut for being a knucklehead, and I knew I was cut for being a knucklehead. So I left with a level of confidence, like, man, I'm good enough. Like I'm better than this person. I beat them all out. Did something stupid off the field, and
Mm-hmm.
now I don't have a job. But the way I left that facility was I grabbed all my things, and on my way out, I was like, man, y'all gonna regret having to play me. Like you're gonna have to see me, and you're gonna have to see me, and you're gonna have to see me. And I was, man, when I tell you I was the biggest, toughest guy, I walked out with my chest up, head held high. And I remember I got in my car and I called my mama and I cried like a baby. I cried.
Yeah.
All that tough guy talk went out the window, but I still knew that I was worthy. And I was like, yeah, I'll be picked up in 2 weeks. Well, I wasn't. I wasn't picked up for 3 months. I didn't get picked up till December.
Hmm.
And I never want to feel that again. So that actually was another level of fuel to my fire to make me want to not ever go through that again because that was not a fun pain. That was for anybody who's never played professionally and you want to compare it to something. Think about the first time someone cheated on you, or the time that you lost your first love. If that didn't turn into marriage and whatever, that first heartbreak. You got to multiply that by a couple. That's what it feels like when someone takes the game that you're so passionate about, just takes it from you. And it happens in a day's time, right? You kind of think it may happen, it may not happen, but then it's just like
Yeah.
that, it's over.
Kai, it's a cold business. And so you didn't get cut in the CFL, but you've probably been sharing a room with somebody where there's and that person has to go. Like, or if it didn't happen with a roommate, it's
Yeah.
somebody in the team that you were hanging around with, forging a bond, and then all of a sudden, in 2 days, they're gone. What's that like?
Man, the biggest one for me was um, I got a really close relationship with Etienne Boulay when
Mm-hmm.
I came on to the Montreal Alouettes. French speaking guy, local hero. I had played against him. Thought he was one of just the coolest individuals, right? We worked out together. We would share the cold tub, have conversations at night. Like, just, man, he was my guy. And we were on the field together. He was the safety. I would line up at weak side linebacker, or I would go in with the second group as safety. And,
Yeah.
it was never a competition between us because he's Canadian, I'm American. The ratio is the ratio. So we never looked at each other as competition. And man, they moved me to safety and released him like in a day. Like, I had no idea. And when I tell you I was confused, I was not, I didn't have a chance to celebrate my victory because I was so off put by
Hmm.
him. You try to show the right face and say the right things, but that bothered me because
Yeah.
he was a really good guy and a
Yeah.
good player.
Yeah. How did that conversation go with you guys after?
I don't remember us talking a whole lot after. I probably went in there and probably was like, "This is bullshit,"
Yeah.
like he
Yeah.
didn't deserve it. He was good enough. He's been proven
Yeah.
great cup champion, whatever. But I remember when we played Toronto and we were on special teams, and their coach made me his assignment. Right? It's like,
Ah,
go get him type of deal.
yeah.
And he came at me. I had a big size advantage. We don't need to talk about how that ended, but um, that was something else, man. But to this day, I'm a great supporter of his. Even years after that, I remember what fight I went to his home and watched a fight like Pacquiao versus Mayweather or
Oh,
something
yeah.
like that
Yeah.
at his personal home, and this was probably 6 years after that happened or 5 years after that happened. So
Mm.
maintain a good relationship because with a guy like that, like you could never hate him. He's just a
Yeah.
great guy, and he
Yeah.
never wronged me. He's never done anything wrong by me, and I don't think I've ever wronged him.
Yeah.
It wasn't my decision, right? It's the staff, the GMs, and whatnot.
Yeah. So
That make
you
the decisions.
you have the right mentality for football. You have the right makeup for football. Like you said, you never were cut in the CFL. But what was it like coming up as an American? Your first training camp, getting used to everything, the motion, all the different rules. Your head. It must have been like drinking from a fire hose.
I'm trying to get the sun
Yeah.
out of my face.
Yeah. That's
My
okay.
tan is done. I've already
You're
completed my
looking
tan,
good. You're
believe
looking
it or
good.
not.
Yeah.
But I'll step back a little bit. The again, not knowing, like coming to the CFL, I already dominated in the NFL, right? I worked my way to a starting position. I wasn't there because of knucklehead stuff off the field. So I figured going to Canada is going to be easy,
Mm-hmm.
not knowing anything about the game, just knowing my talent. If I can do it at the NFL level, then Canada is going to be easy. And what a crock of shit. That was false, man. It was so many guys that I had thought to be better than me in the NFL, or guys that I saw in college football watching TV, just being
Yeah.
a fan of the game, getting there, and there's guys from the Texas Longhorns and Texas A&M, or you have an LSU Tiger guy that was a 5-star to your 3-star. There was some really good NFL caliber players that were there. And had the guy in front of me not left the team to go pimp,
Yeah.
who knows what my career is?
Yeah.
Because
That's exactly what
he
happened. Yeah.
beat my ass out.
Yeah.
I didn't win that position training camp. I earned a position on that team on special teams and because of my relentless pursuit to the ball. But as far as DBs and football player, that guy, he was better. And that's just not my opinion. That was the coach's opinion. That his
Yeah.
plate said so, and it wasn't just like for a week or two. Like he stayed on the team for 6-7 weeks before he decided that he had a better career out in Ottawa, Ontario. Yeah, he was kicking my ass every week. I could not beat him out. Very
He was
fortunate that
he
he
was
decided.
he was moving tight ends and wide receivers, and you were killing them on the football field, right?
Yeah, he was creating wide receivers and by the way of tight ends.
That's hilarious. Hey, so just before I let you go and before we plug our show once again, you you would have a great insight in this. What's going through the mind of the players right now? What kind of advice would you give the players into this last week, the last kind of test run before the coaches make their final decision on Saturday?
Yeah. And most guys know this already, but at the end of it all, you're not trying to make that one team. If you get an opportunity to get on that field, make sure the entire league knows your name. Make sure you're showing your best stuff to that entire league and every other league that may have football opportunities. So don't be defeated by where you may be on the depth chart, what you may see as inevitable. Your future is still in your hands. Kick ass, take names, and never say die.
There we go. And this guy's going to join me all season long, starting Thursday, June 5th, the Riders Ottawa Red Blacks season opener at Mosaic Stadium. It's the Our Balls Are Bigger postgame show. And we're taking phone calls this year, Kyrie. So we're going to
Yes, we are.
we're going to have some calls and take it to the next level. Thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it. All right, Rye, second year is the bench boss, 10th year with the organization. What's your level of optimism heading into this season as you get set to open up against Swift Current?
I'm excited about our roster. Returning 15 players from last year's team is huge. The culture we had in the clubhouse last year was outstanding, and with the great additions that we plugged in, handpicked guys to augment what we have. I think we have a real nice club put together.
Okay, 15. Isn't that unusually high? Would that be as high as high as retention rate as you've had, maybe?
Yeah, I don't think over my tenure here, the 10 years, we've never had 15 returned.
So how do you do that? How do you keep 15? Is it just because of that culture? Like, how did you get them all to come back?
Yeah, the culture, they enjoy each other, they play for each other, and there's some, the kind of a bitter taste in the mouth from last year, the way it ended. So, a little bit, kind of even the score a little bit where, we got to make a run this year. So,
Yeah. So, you've said culture twice, and my son is with the Blue Bombers right now, and he is finding out why they've gone to 5 straight Grey Cups. Culture. It's just from the players to the coaches. What makes for a good culture in a locker room or in a clubhouse there? We're talking baseball.
I think you have to have a lot of unselfish people. Play for each other, love each other, pick the other guy up. It's it's a team game. Sacrifice and play for each other is huge.
Jackson Searing is coming back. Last year, he takes one right off the face. I was the public address announcer for that game, and like he stayed in the game. I think he scored a run, and then he went to go play in the field and just couldn't continue playing. Where does that level of toughness rank in some of the things you've seen in the game of baseball? You've been around a long time.
This is Jax. This is the spirit he has. He loves the game. He loves his teammate. He's no quitting this player. So, we had to almost drag him out of there with a team of horses. He wanted to get back out there, but he couldn't breathe. His nose was, we had to stuff it with cotton to stop the bleeding. So,
Yeah, he had to change his jersey, and Gary Brazzo told me he almost knocked his eye out. That's how devastating that was.
yeah, he had the orbital bone was shattered and his nasal cavity was, it was pretty messed up.
Yeah. So that is a disappointment for you guys because you had a great season, and all it takes is a freak injury and a couple of plays here and there, and that's how the playoffs go. Just talk about the bitter taste, and just how eager you guys are to right the wrong, so to speak.
Well, yeah, it ended too soon for us. None of the guys wanted to go home. That's just the way baseball is. A lot of things have got to go right in the game to win a one-ball game. We had a great season, and the guys want to come back and finish it off.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the guys besides Searing coming back. Who are some of the other names that you'll be relying on this year for your team? The returning guys, first off.
Oh, Matthew Fox, our shortstop.
Mm-hmm.
Colton Anderson, pitcher of the year. Brady Bai, who's a great clubhouse guy and has grown as a player and a person. We're excited, for his growth this year. He had a full year at Point University in Georgia. Tyler Fortin out of the pen. Aiden Page out of the pen. Nick Yard. We have a lot of pitchers back. Uh, Angelo Franco, a third baseman, a Canadian guy from BC. So we got a lot of guys with some character, love of the game, and they love each other. It's like old home week. Basically we've only been apart 9 months. It's a school year, and they're all back here again. It was like, a reunion fun. It was like the 9 months just flew by, and they just couldn't wait to see each other. So
And
it's a
how
lot
is
of
that?
fun.
And how is that for you, a guy that I won't call you old, but you've been around the game. You got some gray there, okay? You got some gray on the goatee. But how does that keep you youthful and energized to see these guys excited to be back?
Yeah, it's just this is a big part of it for me. Keeps me relevant with this generation. I love to be around the guys. Um, I'm not a overwhelming presence in the dugout. I just slow and steady.
Mm-hmm.
Been seeing a lot of games. Evaluation of game day is pretty much my forte, but enjoy the guys a lot. And to be at the Diamond since 7 years old, I'm 67 years old now, so like it's a lot of fun. I climbed the batting cage today, climbed up, put a few zip ties on. The guys couldn't believe it, like
Yeah.
it keeps me going, keeps me young.
Well, you look good. Whenever I put a hat on, I have to put it on backwards because if I put it on the conventional way, like you're wearing it right now, it looks like I'm checking crops. You look like a 25-year-old guy still, even at the age of 67. You put this roster together, okay? Do you like the crafting of the roster or coaching the roster, or or do the two go together for you?
Yeah, I like all of that. I like both parts of it. I like coaching, and I like to build the roster. So it's nice when you recruit and you have them on the phone over the winter, 2, 3, 4, 5 times,
Mm-hmm.
and you already know them before they get there. There's a lot of FaceTime stuff that we can do,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, just like then they walk through the clubhouse and they just shake their hand and we're ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of you got big pitchers, like guys that could be maybe play basketball or football, like 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", and some lefties. Tell us about your pitching staff, because I think that'll be a bit of a strength of this team this year.
Yeah, Christopher Spry, another addition from Rogers State. He's a 6'3" left-handed pitcher, in the neighborhood 91, 94 miles an hour, and then Draven Ziegler with LSU Shreveport, another guy 6'4". He's 12-0 with like a 1.2 ERA right now. They're playing in the NAIA World Series. They're playing, matter of fact, right now. I was watching it prior to jumping online. Siring had a base hit and scored 2 runs. So he's a big part of that club and the reason why they're at the NAIA championship. So
And aren't they like 57-0? It's like something stupid like that, right?
yeah,
They're
yeah,
like
they haven't lost. They haven't lost this year yet. They're playing Southeastern University from Florida, who they're both undefeated in the tournament. So this is a big game for LSU Shreveport.
well, I'll get off here and let you finish watching that. But when it comes to the guys like that, LSU, USA, how do you come in contact with those guys? Is it just the contacts that you have through the world of baseball over the last 40 some years?
Yeah, it's I've been in this league for 25, and now the guys that have played for me early on, they're all coaching. They all have their own kids that are 10 years old. Like it's crazy stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, so guys like coached and recruited over the years are now coaches in different schools, and just
Mhm.
the network you build over the years and the trust, and it's very enjoyable.
Hey, Rye, just to wrap up, there used to be on the bingo card a couple of free spaces, meaning that you could get a couple of wins, but that's getting fewer and fewer now in this league. Just talk about the quality of talent right across the board in Saskatchewan and beyond.
Yeah, everybody's reloaded and loaded up, and there's going to be a lot of parity this year. I can see the rosters. I looked them over in the last week or so. So everybody's recruiting a little harder, and the league is growing. The markets are getting bigger and getting some new stadiums, and the league is getting well known in the USA. So for a while it was best kept secret, but now there's a lot of guys coming from the US.
Well, I look forward to watching Red Sox baseball once again. Hopefully, he can finish it off the right way this year, but I know it'll be an entertaining product starting this weekend here, starting Thursday against Swift Current. Thanks for your time, Rye. Get back to watching that undefeated team right there, okay?
All right. Thank you. And thanks for having me, guys.